0 to 60 can define a performance car, but it's the fastest 60 to 0 that's the aim of Tarok's brakes. From road cars to race cars, circuits, special stages, or the autostrada, nothing reduces speed like Tarok's brakes. Italy gave the world the art of Da Vinci and Michelangelo. Tarok's has given drivers the art of stopping. For more information and to acquire your own masterpiece, visit tarox.co.uk. Yes, it's me, Mark Stone, and this is the Backseat Driver Podcast. I'd like to welcome to the Backseat Driver Radio Show Tim Longfield, Ben Longfield, and just to add to the confusion, Ben Davies, who collectively are Retro Defenders and Retro Automotive from Harrogate. Gentlemen, welcome to the Backseat Driver Radio Show.
Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure to be here, yeah.
Right, I've been told I have to start with Ben Davies because, amongst other things, apparently he's the one that does all the talking. Ben, to start with, what exactly is Retro Defenders and Retro Automotive, and how and when did it come into being?
Okay, so we're a custom Land Rover Defender builder. We do anything from day-to-day servicing right through to full nut and bolt rebuilds. We started in 2018, so we've been going for a couple of years now, and from a business point of view, we are worldwide, so we'll sell to customers anywhere in the world.
So, how did it come about? Because, I mean, we're sat in your workshops and there are Land Rovers knocking about. Proper Land Rovers, I hasten to add, gentlemen. You know, the ones that made Land Rover famous. Not these lucky-likeys or, shall we say, designed for Chelsea, anything like that. These are meant to, like, go off-road. How did it come about? Because you have a background in the motor trade, and dare we say you have a background in Audi.
Yeah, that's correct. So me and Tim both worked for our local Audi dealership here in Harrogate, and the way that it came about was Tim actually had a beautiful Mark II Golf that he'd spent a couple of years restoring and sort of doing up, and one day I walked into the workshop and he'd swapped his Golf for a Defender, which I thought was quite an interesting thing to do, not knowing a lot about the Defenders at that point, to be honest. And when I looked at it, I didn't think it was much more than, how do I put this politely? It wasn't in the nicest condition, so I thought it was an interesting choice, and I said as much to Tim. But Tim took a couple of weeks off, not long after that, and in the space of that time, he'd rebuilt the car. He'd actually painted it by hand in Atlantic Green, which has turned into our signature colour, and came back to work and suggested I go out and have a look at his car, which is what I did. Much to my astonishment, and I didn't believe that he painted it by hand because it looked that good. We sort of chatted about it, and off the back of that, his Instagram started to go a little bit potty, getting a lot of followers and a lot of love for some of his cars. So I think initially one of the photos that he showed me got like 5,000 likes, which for me was pretty crazy because
you were jealous. Admit it, you were jealous.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'd say for me, like, I'd never used Instagram, but on Facebook, I think the biggest thing that I'd ever got on Facebook was like my son being born, which was a couple of hundred likes. So 5,000 for what I took to be a bit of a shabby car at first was a pretty amazing achievement. So from that, I sort of looked at it and thought there might be something in it for us. And after suggesting to Tim that we maybe did something together, I'd always wanted to build a car, but nobody in my family was ever technically minded or really wanted to do it. So I'd always sort of fancied doing it, and I suggested to Tim at that point that maybe we should look at building one, just buying one and sort of doing it up ourselves and seeing how we got on.
So basically this started life as it wasn't your intended career path, it was just do something interesting, especially after Tim had introduced you to what you call a proper car. It was just something that, shall we say, to while away a summer's evening and the occasional weekends.
Effectively, yeah. I mean, it kind of was an accident how we got here today, definitely. As I say, we wanted to do it, so we actually bought a car within a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks of that probably.
Yeah.
And we started that car by stripping it down in my garage, which my wife was
seriously impressed about.
Yeah, not so much. It was an ex-Army Ministry of Defence vehicle, and it must have had about 300 layers of paint. or so the dust in the garage might have told us. So yeah, she wasn't that impressed by it, but literally within probably 2 or 3 weeks after we'd got the car, we'd actually got ourselves into this unit as well. So it went from being a sort of bit of an idea of building a couple of cars together as mates into a fully fledged business in the space of about 6 weeks. So yeah, it was definitely an interesting way to start, put it that way.
Right, Tim, I mean, you went from a Golf to a Land Rover, a proper Land Rover. I conclude you've always been a Land Rover fan.
Yeah, I mean, even from an early age, you know, years ago my uncle restored Land Rovers. He worked in the motor trade, and I'd always wanted one as a young child, but never got one till later life really. And then once I did get one, I discovered the worldwide love for them, and it's all rolled from there really.
So the first one you got, I mean, what state was it in? It's already described by Ben as a bit shabby. Now, in the motor trade, especially when people are selling cars, not bad, needs a bit of work.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you could say it was a little shabby. I mean, to be fair, it was black with chrome bits on, and when I went to look at it, I thought, oh, I like this, I'll buy it. But then soon after looking at pictures online of them, discovered I didn't really want a black one with chrome on, and turned it into like a heritage-looking Defender, really, and that's where the business has come from, really. People seem to love that look of the car in a heritage look.
I mean, I'm of an opinion that, now I don't want to upset my friends down at Jag Land Rover, but when they discontinued the Land Rover, they really lost their way. They more or less shut the door on a lot of their customers. But, I mean, the original Land Rover, from the Series 1 through what you call the series, the 2s, the 2As, the 3s, etc., and then into the 90s, etc. What is it about the Land Rover that people love so much? And the other thing is, since Land Rover discontinued what I will always refer to as the proper Land Rover, why do you think there's been such a spike in interest in the vehicles and in wanting to own them?
I think most of it portrays the way I see it is the shape of the Land Rover. It's a classic shape. People love it worldwide, and there's such basic things, you know, the older ones, then anybody can fix them and maintain them and have joy out of them and take them pretty much anywhere with the family, and, you know, have good trips out in them.
But, I mean, Land Rovers were always known. I mean, I've owned Land Rovers, and it was always the case of in winter time it was invariably warmer outside of the vehicle until the warm air started blowing through those little vents. I used to have a Land Rover that there was more ice inside it than outside, and when it got nice and warm you enjoyed your own little rain shower. It's one of those strange things. We can probably rhyme off more reasons not to want a Land Rover than to want a Land Rover, but the one thing about them is they will really go anywhere, won't they?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. As you described them there, you're either cold or you're wet in them. You know, they're not a luxury car to drive, but if you want to go off-road or anywhere or drive in snow and ice, they are the one vehicle probably what can go further than any other vehicle produced.
And over the years, people want to start doing them up, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, people, you know, the people over the years have started doing them up and making them look more modern, and, you know, more modern colours and more modern things like black windows, things like that. But they're the sort of vehicle where you can do pretty much anything to them, and everybody has their own taste in how they want to do them.
So, I mean, we'll now come on to, shall we say, Longfield Jr. Ben, I mean, when did you get dragged into all this?
I started in September last year. I'd worked in the motor trade previously. I worked for Audi, then Mercedes, and then a small independent car dealer. So I'd got experience with newer vehicles, but it was completely new to me to work on something like this that's so basic and easy to work on, really.
So the other thing is as well with Land Rovers, you don't just plug a laptop into these, do you? You've got to open the bonnet and investigate.
Yeah, you truly do. It's a lot different to a modern car. Like you say, you can't plug a computer into it, and it's probably more satisfying to fix it, really, because rather than telling a computer what to do, you actually have to do it yourself with your hands.
So, I mean, Tim, do you run a Land Rover?
Yeah, I've still got the original Land Rover that I bought, and I still use that on a day-to-day basis. You know, I have other cars I use as well, but my go-to vehicle is a Land Rover, whether I'm going on a dog walk or I'm going to the shops. Really, I just like to drive it.
Now, the one thing is, before we went on air, the one thing I've discovered is your customer base is, shall we say, global. I mean, and that's like the side of it in many ways that you look after, Ben, is it not?
Yeah, that's true. So we have a lot of interest all around the world. America is a big market for us, so the market in the States at the minute seems to be going mad, and the interest continues to sort of spike over there. So we've got one that we've just gone to Oregon, we've got another car that's going to Montana, we've got a customer in Germany that's about to take delivery, a customer in Austria that's already taken delivery, a guy in France that's got one on order, and one in Newcastle. So we're kind of all over the place, and hopefully that's the way that the business will continue to go. You know, we are worldwide and we're happy to deal with anybody anywhere. Thankfully, the way that the world is now with technology means that, you know, we can be seen by anybody in any country at any time, really. So from that point of view, it's really positive.
And Tim, you were saying something quite interesting, is when they're exported from the UK, they have to more or less leave with their original engines, but when they get to final destination, there's quite an interesting range of engines start to get put into the vehicles, isn't there?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, the import and export is different for every country, but most of our customers are American based, so the car has to be 25 years old with original chassis, original engine type and original gearbox type. So we tend to restore them as that vehicle to export them, but then once they get to the States, for example, you know, they can put new chassis on, they can put any engines in they want, really, and a lot of people nowadays are putting big V8s like LS3 engines out of Corvettes and stuff with 500 odd brake horsepower, so you know, the choice of what you can do with them is absolutely phenomenal, really.
I mean, what's a 500 brake horsepower Land Rover like to drive?
Terrifying. It's all right in a straight line, but you've got to remember that it'll only go around a corner and stop at a certain speed, so you know, they are good to drive, but you know, they're not much good for Yorkshire roads, let's put it that way.
Now, I mean, your UK customers, the one thing is, you were saying you will build a Land Rover to whatever specification somebody wants. Do they supply the Land Rover, or are you able to, shall we say, buy the Land Rover for them, or whatever?
We quite often would go and find the right car for our customer. We find that's the best way to do it because we know what we're looking for when it comes to, you know, the car that we start with. So we'll work any which way. If a customer wants to bring a car to us and we do it, then we've done that before and we'd continue to do it. But the way that we tend to do it, if we're going to do a full nut and bolt rebuild on a car, is we'll physically go out and source the vehicle for the customer, and you know, make sure that we're buying the right thing, a good square car, really. That's the way that we tend to do it.
And do you sit down with the customer beforehand and discuss what they want? I mean, there are some customers, no doubt, that walk out and say, "There's a checkbook. It's blank. I've just signed the bottom of it. Enjoy yourself, lads."
That'd be nice. No, I mean, again, with the fact that we're international, actually being able to sit down with customers is something that's quite challenging, to be honest, especially at the moment with everything that's going on with the pandemic. But we spend quite a lot of time back and forth with our customers getting specifications right. You know, it's not a process that's done and sort of signed overnight. It's something that can take weeks, if not months, of back and forth and little tweaks and little decisions to make sure that every aspect of the car's correct. We have our style that we always want to try and impose on the cars, and make sure that when the car leaves the workshop, it does have you know, some sort of semblance of what we're about as a business. But of course, as well, we've got customers there that have their idea of their dream Land Rover and what they want. So we then work with that as well to make sure that we're putting something together that the customer's happy with at the end of the day. It might sound daft, but a lot of the time is spent on WhatsApp, because I find it a great platform. You can share photos, you know, voice messages, video calls, everything else. So we try and keep our customers in the loop as often as we can. But yeah, I mean, as I say, with it being an international business, it's challenging to be able to sort of sit down with people a lot of the time. But certainly from a UK point of view, yeah, we've had a few customers that we've come in and spent some time with, showing leather samples and all that sort of stuff to make sure that they're making the right decisions when it comes to the car.
So I mean, it's like we said, they are bespoke of these vehicles. What tends to be the most popular request? I mean, as I said, we can have what we want, leather-wise, seats-wise, lights, grills, wheels and all the rest. What tends to be the most popular options?
I mean, that's a tough one to answer because, again, you've just labelled or run off a load of the different options that you've got when it comes to the car, and there's so many different looks and styles that you can go through with it that it's probably tough to kind of put an answer to that. I mean, I think the most popular car for us that we seem to get the most interest off was the Ragtop, which was actually one of the first ones that we did. And we have a lot of people that are always commenting on the grille, a lot of people that are always asking about the wheels. Daily basis we're people asking about the wheels and stuff that's on the car. So but again, that's why we love what we do, because there's variety in it. You know, you don't have to build the same car twice, although people want us to. We've actually got an order on for exactly the same car. You know, there's variety there that means that people can just switch up little elements of the car to give it their own twist, but still keep it, you know, looking the way that we liked it. So, as I say, tough one to answer that one, unfortunately.
But if I said to you, have you got one that's complete, or would there be the intentions of ever building what you might call a retro Defenders or a retro automotive Land Rover? In case, you know, if somebody was driving past and there was one sat outside, what would be, shall we say, without being rude, the basic spec retro Defenders Defender?
Well, basic spec, again, it depends on the engine and stuff. We'd probably go for something like a 200. We quite like the 200 TDI or 300 TDI, again, just so that it's available for export. But from a basic spec, you know, pretty much the whole car is gone over. Not everything's brand new on the car, but probably 90% of the stuff is. Interior on the car would be brand new. We would probably not necessarily go as extravagant as some of our customers have or would. Probably a nice sort of high back seat with a decent standard of leather inside. Probably our signature colour, so Atlantic green. Our normal wheels that go on them, steel wheels that we go on it as well. So, you know, something that stays in keeping with our style, really. We'd never, if we're going to build a car for ourselves, move too far away from what we do, which is trying to keep that, you know, that retro, that heritage look to the vehicle and not overdo it. You can do anything with these cars, but we like to kind of keep it pretty basic. So some of our favourite seats that we put in the car are series seats, which don't have any headrests in, but they give the car such a cool, sleek look because, you know, they're just low-lying seats. From a comfort point of view, not necessarily there in comparison to some of the other ones, but, you know, we're about aesthetics as much as anything. We want the car to look simple but tasteful. So something like that. I know that maybe doesn't answer your question full on, but it's kind of a tough one to answer because, again, there's so many different choices that you have with these cars. To try and definitively say this is exactly how it would look is tough, because for me and Tim, when we decide we're going to build a car, we kind of do it stage by stage. We have an idea of what we want to look for, but then, you know, we like with our customers, we might tweak little bits here and there and say, okay, well, do you want to change the bumper up? Do you want a winch on it, or do we want a normal bumper? Or what about the lights or the bezels? Or there's so many tiny little details with these cars that, you know, really end up with something great. But it's about putting the time into it and making sure that you put the right details in the right places, basically.
So whilst all this is going on, Ben, what part do you play, or do these two guys walk in and say, right, take daddy bits?
The other Ben works in the office normally, doing sort of sales and...
I thought he looked remarkably clean compared to you two guys.
Yeah, that's right. And me and my dad Tim, we strip and rebuild them. I just rebuilt the engine on that TD5 2002 one, which is a little bit different to the older engines. Obviously it's got an extra cylinder. It's a little bit more complex, but it's still enjoyable to do and much more simpler than modern cars, really, still.
And Dad, how many of these Land Rovers, when they're complete, how many actually go off-road? Do a lot of your customers take them off-road? Because, I mean, by the time they're finished, and I won't exactly ask how much, but they're probably not the cheapest thing to bear a 4x4 badge or a Land Rover badge. How many people actually off-road them?
Well, not many of our customers actually off-road them. I mean, we have built a couple now for UK customers with off-road in mind, but that's what they want to do. So, I mean, the car we've got behind us here, which is one we built earlier, which is in for some repairs, this guy's a farmer, so this one goes off.
I do notice there's a nice dent up there, yeah, which seems a bit of a shame, really, but it does happen on farm trucks.
Well, yeah, he was unfortunate when he did that, but that'll be getting repaired soon. I know he's with all the money he spent on the vehicle. His wife wasn't too pleased when she saw that bit of damage to the wing there. But yeah, I mean, you know, we can build them to go off road. I mean, we often put lift kits on and stuff like that. But most of our things, which are getting exported, they're just cool looking cars for, you know, Americans or wherever they're going, just to cruise around in and look cool when they're driving them, really. So, you know.
You seem like America. I mean, America has produced probably some of the most iconic four-wheel drives in the world. You've got the Jeeps, all the Jeeps and everything else. There's like the Broncos and everything else. Yeah. What is it about the Land Rover that appeals to the Americans?
Again, I think it's the shape. I actually had this conversation with a customer in New York last week, and I think it's the silhouette, the shape of the car that really stands out. I think it's got more.
Because I can't really see the use of a 4x4 in Manhattan, to be quite honest.
No, I mean, yeah, it's an interesting one. He lives in the Hamptons, and it's
all the posh bit.
Yeah.
Well, I bet you threw a load of accessories at that one, didn't you?
You've got to try, haven't you? No, I mean, it's exactly as Tim says. A lot of the customers that we're doing these cars for are for style more than anything, more than actually using them. But having said that, we're doing one, got a car coming from Spain in a couple of weeks for a customer in Montana, and he lives on 165 acre farm. So, you know, he will use that car will be used as an off-road vehicle, and he's actually another one. He's got a Scout himself, but he's always loved the style of the Defender. So he's got two beautiful old Scouts, one that's just got an original patina on, really cool thing, and then one that he's had done up as well. But he's always wanted a Defender because he doesn't think there's any other car out there that has, you know, that same styling to it, that boxy sort of shape. So yeah, I mean, that is probably the main reason, I think, that from an exterior styling point of view, certainly for our customers, because as I say, majority of them aren't actually going to be putting the cars to use really for what they are, but the popularity just seems to be continuing to grow in America.
Now, with all your foreign customers, which is great, I mean, you're exporting a little bit of England and you're exporting a little bit of Yorkshire. How many of them actually come back for maintenance and repair, or else do you talk to them out there and say, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, or do you have, shall we say, official agents?
We don't at the minute, to be honest with you. It's something that we're looking into and we're wanting to have in the future. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for us is that we keep a line of communication open with our customers. So it's not just a case of we build them a car and we'll never speak to them again. We're there for support. If there's any questions or queries or issues that they have with the car, we're always here to try and help and make sure that, you know, questions are answered basically. So plan is moving forward that we probably will have some people that will work within the States, but at the minute it's not something that we're quite there with.
And Tim, you're like the spanning man. You're the guy who yourself and your lad are the guys with the toolkits. From what I can gather, young Ben Davies here just likes to look out the window of the office and just check that things are progressing they should be. When you're actually talking to a customer who will off-road the vehicle, do you do anything to them to make them, well, for want of a better term, do you make them better off-road than they were? Or else if a customer is going to have one mainly tarmac based, do you do anything to them to make them more tarmac friendly?
Yeah, I mean, obviously if they're going to use it for more off-road, then we'd alter the suspension, we'd put more protection underneath the vehicle just to keep everything safe, better grippier tyres, that sort of thing, snorkel so they can go in deep water. But there again, if they're going to be more tarmac based, we, instead of raising the suspension, we lower the suspension a bit to give them a better ride feel, and different anti-roll bars, that sort of thing, and different tyres, so they're going to handle better on road rather than going off road. Yeah.
Longfield Junior, so we can work out everything. Do you ever get to, when you've worked on all these, do you ever get to go and drive one of these?
Yeah, I do. But the other thing I notice is, compared to modern cars, really, the steering is very difficult. You get used to it after about 10 miles or something, but you have to steer a lot to go in a straight line. That's what
I was going to say that's always been the thing about Land Rovers. You steer a car in a straight line, but you've got to admit there's an appeal about that. When you get behind the wheel of a Land Rover, I conclude even one of Retro Defenders, you've still got to. There's the full driving experience. It's not like the Range Rover where you just climb behind the wheel and occasionally nudge the wheel in the right direction.
Yeah, the first time I drove my dad's one, actually, I turned around a corner in town expecting it to...
Just what you did after you drove your dad's for the first time, you looked at him and said, what on earth did you want this thing for?
Yeah, but the steering wheel doesn't self-centre, so I nearly ploughed into some pedestrians on the pavement. But I also struggle with the gearbox quite a lot, finding the gears. That was
They are in there somewhere, I can assure you.
Yeah, they are, eventually.
So, do you ever get any customers who want one of these but have never had a Land Rover before? And do you ease them into it, or do you have to actually say, go and drive one before you come and order one?
Well, much to our surprise, actually, the one that we've just sent to Oregon, he came over in January to come and have a look at the car, and Tim asked a question, so have you driven one of these before? And he said, no, I've not actually sat in one before. So he just spent a huge amount of money with us, and he'd not even been in one, let alone driven one. So it's an interesting thing. Got another one, another one of the States who's not had the opportunity to drive the engine that he's bought yet, but he will. I mean, these guys are pretty trusting. They kind of go with what we say and what we think would probably be best for them. But I spend a lot of time talking to the customers, ascertaining their needs, making sure that we're going to build the right car. So you're asking what we do in terms of on-road vehicle, off-road vehicle and all that sort of stuff. We know before we put something together for the customer that what we're building is going to be bang on for them, because we've already found out the daily commute and all that sort of thing, what they'd actually use the car for, and from there we put the car together and kind of work from there. So
I conclude when you export one to whichever country, you're rather keen to get some quick feedback from the guy that's bought it, just to make sure he's actually happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, feedback's vital for me. It's probably the most important part to our business, because at the end of the day, we are still a young business, we are still learning and growing, and you have to, I think, well, even if you're a 30-year-old business, I still think you need to listen to your customers and what you do, and how you can change, if you can change anything, how you can change it, what you can do better. So yeah, we're always keen to speak to our customers as soon as they've taken the car and make sure that everything's all right. And as I say, that continues with it. We always want it to be good at the end of the day, but and so far so good. It has been for us. We haven't had any issues from that point of view, so it is positive.
So, I mean, roughly, I know it's all based on how many people want one, but how many, roughly, Retro Defenders do you build a year, and especially since they're all to different specifications?
Yeah, so at the moment, and with the coronavirus, we've been a bit limited. We'll probably put out 7 cars this year, but as I say, they're fully stripped back to the chassis and fully rebuilt vehicles. We do have other work that we undertake in the meantime as well, your day-to-day servicing and things like that. Yeah, so from that point of view, this year we probably should put out 7. We're in the process of trying to find a new workshop, something a bit bigger, because we're limited with the space that we have at the moment, so that always stops the amount of cars that we can build. But hopefully moving forward we'll get ourselves into a bigger unit, and the idea is to put out 15, maybe even 20 cars a year if we can, but we still want to try and keep our cars unique. We don't want loads of these cars running around Harrogate or America or wherever it is. We want them to have a little bit of uniqueness to them and be special for our customers at the end of the day when they've got them.
Now, you mentioned Harrogate. The one thing is, I conclude that you are do you have any local customers?
Yeah. So we've got plenty of local customers that we do more day-to-day servicing and things like that on. We've done 2 full rebuilds for customers around here. So one that we've got sat in the workshop with us at the minute came to us half built. Gentleman had it in his barn for 2 years and got halfway into it and sort of fell out of love with the project. So
in other words, he got it in bits and said, there's a book somewhere that tells me how to put this back together, but I can't find it.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, Tim got the car in bits, and he had to sort of work backwards and switch some of the wiring around that had been done wrong and things like that. So that just came off somebody walking past the doors. We've had another customer that works locally, same sort of thing again, had just walked past because we're on a busy road that has a lot of garages down here, and walked past and the same sort of thing, so we fully rebuilt his car as well. So we'll deal with anybody anyway.
You're not proud, you're a Yorkshireman, provided you've got a wallet full of cash, you're happy.
Not bothered. We will deal with anybody anywhere. You know, we like looking after people, but we've got a good customer base locally. We don't advertise, so we've not actually done any form of advertising yet when it comes to, you know, servicing or for the builds. Everything just comes via our Instagram profile at the moment. So that's something else that we want to sort of push out there, is get our name out there a little bit more, because I think locally probably not many people do know about us and do know that we're here. But again, the challenge for us being in a small workshop is that we don't really have the space to be able to do as much day-to-day servicing as we'd like. So that's not an area of the business that we've pushed, but hopefully that'll pick up. And from a reputation point of view, everybody that we have looked after tells other people about it, and it's like anything, you know, it sort of spreads the word. So yeah, we've got a good basis of customers locally, but we definitely want to pick some more up.
And I mean, that's the ironic thing, you mentioned social media, especially Instagram. That's where I found you as such. Retro Defenders and my good self follow each other, but there's a constant source of Instagram material popping up. I mean, who does all this? Is it you?
Yeah, that's my job. Tim did it to start off with because it was Tim's page originally, and then after a while, I think it got to the point for Tim where he wanted to have a bit of a break for it. So I've done it for the last sort of 18 months, something like that. And I have my good days and my bad days with it. There's days where I enjoy it, and there's days where you want to pull your hair out. But we found that the biggest thing with the Instagram is you've got to be consistent. So it's got to be a pretty consistent flow of photos going on, which is the other challenge. You've then got to have a good backlog of photos of all the cars to make sure that you're trying to put some fresh content on, otherwise you're just recycling old stuff. So yeah, that's kind of the next challenge with Instagram. But
I mean, Ben, do you get involved with the social media?
Not so much. I'm thinking about making a page of my own, documenting all the technical jobs that I do, so the customers that are interested in how the car's being built and what the process is, that could familiarise them more with it and just let them appreciate how much depth we go in.
So you actually want to tell people what goes into it. It's not just Ben saying, look at me, I'm parked in the wood, look at there. Hey, by the way, folks, before we get to this stage, this is what we go through.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think so.
That's pretty much it, isn't it? I think the difficulty, certainly we've experimented with it on Instagram. I mean, Instagram as a platform for us is our advertising. As I say, we don't spend any money on advertising anywhere. Right?
You're from Yorkshire.
Yeah,
Hey.
What are you trying to say? You're trying to say I'm tight?
No, I mean, you've heard that joke, haven't you? Why is the white rose of Yorkshire white? And the answer is because you're too mean to colour the damn thing in.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting one. I mean, we've experimented on Instagram as well, and Ben's right. We tend to, on our stories, put on the sort of the day-to-day work. I mean, we've got a beautiful car sat to the left of us, which is currently just at the chassis with suspension and the axle sort of on, and the engine and transmission and everything else has just gone on. So yeah, it's an interesting one. But when you put photos of those cars on Instagram or in that particular position, people just aren't interested or don't seem to have the same level of interest on it. So that's kind of why the photos are all pretty done cars, because that's what people seem to want to look at. So.
And the other thing is they're all photographed with the delights of Yorkshire in the background. I must say, for all the moans about my comment about the Yorkshire Rolls, it is a very pretty county, and it provides the perfect backdrop.
Yeah, we're very lucky with where we're located, to be honest. Sort of 10-15 minutes away from where we are, there's some beautiful settings. We tend to take a lot of photographs down at Swinsty Reservoir. It actually has a bit of a special meaning for me because we've got a memorial bench for my dad down there, so it's kind of a double bubble. I always want to go and take as many photos down there as I can, really. So
basically, if you type Retro Defenders into Instagram, you'll pop up.
Retro_Defenders.
Right, and then there's the Retro Automotive.
That's right. So one of the big things that we want to sort of or want our customers to understand is that although yes we are specialists in Defenders, we are specialists in Land Rovers. We know what we're talking about, we know what we're doing, so we didn't want to people to solely think that all we were interested in was Defenders, because we'll look after any car, we'll service any vehicle, we can repair any vehicle from that point of view. I mean, we've actually just last week went and bought a Range Rover Classic, a 3-door left-hand drive Range Rover Classic 1983, which I've not seen a chassis like it. The car spent most of its life in Monte Carlo, so it's a great example of a vehicle, and we're planning on doing that, so we'll fully rebuild that vehicle in the next 6 months probably, when we get the chance to do it. And again, just to showcase that although our bread and butter is Defenders, and we're pleased and proud of what we do with Defenders, there's more to us than just doing Defenders. We have the opportunity to do other vehicles as well.
Gentlemen, Tim, Ben and Ben, I wish you all the best. I look forward to coming back and seeing this Range Rover when it's finished. Well, once again, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me on the Backseat Drive radio show here on Drystone Radio. Gentlemen, thanks very much, all the best, and I hope to see you when the Range Rover is knocking about.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Cheers.
Rarely beaten on price, never beaten on service. Whether it's cars, bikes or commercials, Hodder Tyres are the best in the business. And when it comes to tyre expertise and advice to supplying the correct tyres for your vehicle's specific requirements, nobody comes close to David Lakin and the Hodder Tyres team. So give them a call on 01200 613 192 or visit the website at hoddertyres.co.uk.